ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Namaste my dear friends. I am going to present a very important video on self-inquiry or Vichar Sangraham of Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi. I start the video with invocation. Is there any way of adoring the Supreme which is all except by abiding firmly as that? Disciple puts a question. Number 1. Master, what is the means to gain the state of eternal bliss, ever devoid of misery? Maharshi replies, apart from the statement in the Veda that wherever there is body, there is misery, this is also the direct experience of all people. Therefore, one should inquire into one's true nature, which is ever bodiless, and one should remain as such. This is the means to gaining that state. Number 2. Devotee puts a question to Maharshi. What is meant by saying that one should inquire into one's true nature and understand it? Maharshi replies, experiences such as I went, I came, I was, I did come naturally to everyone. From these experiences, does it not appear that the consciousness I is the subject of those various acts? Inquiry into the true nature of that consciousness and remaining as oneself is the way to understand through inquiry one's true nature. Third question put by a devotee. How is one to inquire who am I? Maharshi replies, actions such as going and coming belong only to the body, and so when one says, I went, I came, it amounts to saying that the body is I. But can the body be said to be the consciousness I? Since the body was not before it was born, is made up of the five elements, is non-existent in the state of deep sleep, and becomes a corpse when dead. Can this body, which is inert like a log of wood, be said to shine as I? Therefore, the I consciousness, which at first arises in respect of the body, is referred to variously as self-conceit, tarbodham, egoity, ahankara, nescience, avidya, maya, impurity, mala, and individual soul, jiva. Can we remain without inquiring into this? Is it not for our redemption through inquiry that all the scriptures declare that the destruction of self-conceit is release, mukti? Therefore, making the corpse body remain as a corpse and not even uttering the word I, one should inquire keenly thus, now what is it that rises as I? Then there would shine in the heart a kind of wordless illumination of the form I, I. This is, there would shine of its own accord the pure consciousness which is unlimited and one, the limited and the many thoughts having disappeared. If one remains quiescent without abandoning that experience, the egoity, the individual sense of the form, I am the body, will be totally destroyed, and at the end, the final thought, which the I form also will be quenched like the fire that burns camphor. The great sages and scriptures declare that this alone is release, means mukti, salvation, liberation. Fourth question put by devotee. When one inquires into the root of self-conceit, which is of the form I, all sorts of different thoughts without number seem to rise and not any separate I thought. Maharshi replies, whether the nominative case, which is the first case, appears or not, the sentences in which the other cases appear have their basis, the first case. Similarly, all the thoughts that appear in the heart have as their basis the egoity, which is the first mental mode, the cognition of the form, I am the body. Thus, it is the rise of egoity that is the cause and source of the rise of all other thoughts. Therefore, if the self conceit of the form of egoity, which is the root of the illusory tree of samsara bondage, consisting of transmigration, is destroyed, all other thoughts will perish completely like an uprooted tree. Whatever thoughts arise as obstacle to one's sadhana, spiritual discipline, the mind should not be allowed to go in their direction, but should be made to rest in one's self, which is the Atman. One should remain as witness to whatever happens, adopting the attitude, let whatever strange things happen, let us see. This should be one's practice. In other words, one should not identify oneself with appearances. One should never relinquish one's self. This is the proper means for destruction of the mind, manonasha, which is of the nature of seeing the body as self and which is the cause of all the aforesaid obstacles. This method, which easily destroys egoity, deserves to be called devotion, bhakti, meditation, dhyana, concentration, yoga, and knowledge, jnana, because God remains of the nature of the self, shining as I in the heart, because the scriptures declare that though itself is bondage, the best discipline is to stay quiescent without ever forgetting Him, God, the Self. After resolving in Him the mind, which is of the form of the I thought, no matter by what means. This is the conclusive teaching of the scriptures. Fifth question. Devotee, is enquiry only the means for removal of the false belief of the selfhood in the gross body, or is it also the means for removal of the false belief of the selfhood in the subtle and causal bodies? Maharshi replies, it is on the gross body that the other bodies subsist. In the false belief of the form, I am the body, are included all the three bodies consisting of the five seats. And destruction of the false belief of selfhood in the gross body is itself the destruction of the false belief of selfhood in the other bodies. So, enquiry is the means to removal of the false belief of selfhood in all the three bodies. Devotee. Sixth question, devotee. While there are different modifications of the internal organ which manas, mind, reflection, buddhi, intellect, chitta, memory, and ahankara, egoity, how can it be said that the destruction of mind alone is release? Maharshi replies, in the books explaining the nature of the mind, it is thus stated, the mind is formed by the concentration of the subtle portion of the food we eat. It grows with passions such as attachment and aversion, desire and anger, being the aggregate of mind, intellect, memory, and egoity. It receives the collective singular name mind. The characteristics that it bears are thinking, determining, etc., since it is an object of consciousness, the self. It is what is seen, inert, even though inert, it appears as if conscious because of association with consciousness, like a red hot iron ball. It is limited, non eternal, partite, and changing like wax, gold, candle, etc. It is of the nature of all elements of phenomenal existence. Its locus is the heart lotus, even as the loci of the sense of sight, etc., are the eyes, etc. It is the adjunct of the individual soul thinking of an object. It transforms itself into a mode, and along with the knowledge that is in the brain, it flows through the five sense channels, gets joined to objects by the brain that is associated with knowledge, and thus knows and experiences objects and gains satisfaction. That substance is the mind, even as one and the same person is called by different names according to the different functions he performs, so also one and the same mind is called by the different names mind intellect, memory, and equity on account of the difference in the modes and not because of any real difference. The mind itself is of the form of all, that is, of soul, God, and world. When it becomes of the form of the self through knowledge, there is release, which is of the nature of Brahma. This is the teaching. Seventh question answer. Devotee puts a question. If these four, mind, intellect, memory, and equity, are one and the same, why are separate locations mentioned for them? Maharshi replies, it is true that the throat is stated to be the location of the mind, the face or the heart of the intellect, the navel of the memory, and the heart or sarvanga of the equity, though differently stated, thus yet for the aggregate of these, that is the mind or internal organ, the location is the heart alone. This is conclusively declared in the scriptures. Eighth question put by a devotee to Maharshi. Devotee. Which is it said that only the mind, which is the internal organ, shines as the form of all, that is, of soul, God, and world. Maharshi replies, as instruments for knowing the objects, the sense organs are outside, and so they are called outer senses, and the mind is called the inner sense because it is inside. But the distinction between inner and outer is only with reference to the body. In truth, there is neither inner or outer. The mind's nature is to remain pure like ether. What is referred to as the heart or the mind is the collocation of the elements of phenomenal existence that appear as inner and outer. So there is no doubt that all phenomena consisting of names and forms are of the nature of mind alone. All that appear outside are in reality inside and not outside. It is in order to teach this that in the Vedas also all have been described as of the nature of the heart. What is called the heart is no other than Brahma. Ninth question. Devotee puts the question to Maharshi. How can it be said that the heart is no other than Brahma? Maharshi replies, although the self enjoys its experiences in the states of waking, dream, and deep sleep, residing respectively in the eyes, throat, and heart. In reality, however, it never leaves its principal seat, the heart. In the heart lotus, which is of the nature of all, in other words, in the mind ether, the light of that self in the form I shines. As it shines thus in everybody, this very self is referred to as the witness Sakshi and the transcendent Turiya, literally the fourth, the I less supreme Brahman which shines in all bodies as interior to the light in the form I is the self ether or knowledge ether. That alone is the absolute reality. This is the super transcendent Turyatita. Therefore, it is stated that what is called the heart, no other than Brahma. Moreover, for the reason that Brahma shines in the hearts of all souls as the self, the name heart is given to Brahma. The meaning of the word Hridayam, when split thus Hrit Ayam, is in fact Brahma. The adequate evidence for the fact that Brahma, which shines as the self, resides in the hearts of all, is that all people indicate themselves by pointing to the chest when saying I. Question number 10. I will end this video here because otherwise the video will become large. So I will include other questions in next video. So thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks my dear friends. Next video will start with question number 10.